Getting tons of stuff in recent years about how good tea is for you. So I saw this study going through the journals this week on a story about tea, how green tea might react with a very particular cancer drug. So we put that story in the paper. Got a phone call from a reader, said, I'm canceling my subscription because you're saying writing bad things about tea. So people believe what they want to believe. We try to put the information out there, and if you want to cancel your subscription, then what can I say? But we try to do our best. The industries are very strong. That's the first question I asked. Who is paying for this phone call? That contain information that's probably has direct bearing on patients and patient care could be probably narrowed down to about 160, according to Brian Haynes, who is the Chief of Health Information Research Unit at McMaster University in Hamilton. They review a lot of this sort of literature. Dr. Haynes estimates that only a small fraction of these studies, about 5%, are both scientifically sound and potentially relevant to doctors and patients. Years ago, you'd get the medical journals that come in, and there'd be no claims of potential conflicts of interest. Several years ago, journal editors started getting together and saying, you know, there's a problem with the stuff coming in here, and everything should be more transparent. So you'll see on all the major journals, you know, declared conflicts of interest. Changes, movements towards greater transparency.
The lobby groups, they're very powerful, they're very insidious. Paul would know more about this than I would, but sitting on the Canadian Expert Drug Advisory Committee, it sounds very similar to Paul's thing. So I'll get a lot of emails from lobby groups. I'll get, similar to Paul, pictures of families of people struggling with this rare disease. And I think they're just coming from the patients, and then I try not to do all this work, and I realize afterwards that it's completely funded by some food group and so on and so forth.
I mean, it's not just the pharmaceutical industry that funds. I mean, also you do get food industry, but and the same issues apply to any industry funding of any research, that you still want to maintain the same arm's length relationship.
I think the first thing is to kind of contextualize your health decisions and think about where you're at, whether you're kind of grasping for something, and try and sort of look at a number of sources, so not just take one source.
Don't quickly base a decision about, you know, a lifestyle choice based on one story in the newspaper, maybe.
If it is an article that I think is misleading or a recent trial, I would write about that and say, you know, just that fact that this article is kind of misleading.
Constantly grasping at the truth. And what newspapers do are that we're just like one kind of like snapshot in time. And to hold anyone responsible for one particular snapshot in time and why has it changed, you have to actually think you are in a changing universe. Science is constantly changing. It's moving forward. What we thought 50 years ago is entirely different than what we might think 100 years ago.
Evaluate, you look at the different stories. Sometimes you need to dig a little bit to find the dissenting voice, but you have to do your own evaluation and think critically. It's always good to educate yourself on what's going on behind the stories and what sort of thing you can take away from the headlines.